Today we're going to look at 5 most mind-boggling missing person cases that were later solved. Every year, thousands of people go missing all over the world. According to the statistics provided by the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, in the United States alone, there are approximately 90,000 missing people at any given time. Losing a loved one is hard enough, but when a person goes missing, families are thrust into a state of limbo, and they are left to grapple with the question, what exactly happened? More often than not, these missing person cases take months or years to be solved, and they often end in tragedy. Here are 5 such mind-boggling missing persons cases that were later solved. Number 1. Timothy Wiltsey. On May 25, 1991, a 23-year-old single mother, Michelle Lodzinski, reported that her 5-year-old son, Timothy Wiltsey, had gone missing from a local carnival in South Amboy, New Jersey. Police officers, together with trained dogs, volunteers, and firefighters, searched the carnival grounds and the surrounding area extensively, but no trace of the little boy was found. On October 26, 1991, while exploring marshlands and the bird watching in the Raritan Center Business Park of Edison, New Jersey, a man found a kid's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sneaker. Because the case was so highly publicized, the man immediately recognized the sneakers like that of the ones that Timothy was said to be wearing when he disappeared. When the police showed it to the mother, she said that it was not her son's. The shoe was stored as evidence, but nothing came of it until the man reported it to a local newspaper. The front page story prompted the FBI forensic testing, which was inconclusive. A few months later, an FBI agent contacted the man who had found the sneaker, and they toured the area where it was found. In 1992, after a full search of the area, law enforcement officers found a second matched sneaker that fit Timothy's shoe size. They then discovered the partial skeleton remains of the boy. Dental records helped them to identify him, and his death was ruled as a homicide. However, due to advanced decomposition, the location, time, and cause of death could not be determined. The mother was the primary suspect in the case from the beginning. She had changed her story of what happened to the boy multiple times. She failed polygraph tests, and she even accused the FBI of kidnapping her. However, the official arrest was not made until August 6, 2014, which would have been Timothy's 29th birthday. After a long and complicated trial, Michelle Lodzinski was sentenced to 30 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Number 2. Katie Beers. Catherine Beers, the 9-year-old daughter of Marilyn Beers, disappeared on December 28, 1992, just 2 days before her 10th birthday. After her disappearance, Katie left a message on her godmother's answering machine, saying that a man with a knife had kidnapped her. The police traced the call to a payphone near the video arcade and indoor amusement park called Spaceplex in Nesconset, New York. As it turned out, a family friend named John Esposito had lured the little girl to his home by promising her birthday presents. He kidnapped and held her in a 6-foot by 7-foot concrete bunker, which he had built under the garage of his home in Bayshore, New York. A 200-pound concrete trapdoor concealed the bunker. The bunker contained a mattress, TV, commode toilet, and chains that were used to restrain Katie. During the initial investigation, Esposito had told the police that the child was kidnapped while they were at Spaceplex. The message that Katie had left on the answer machine turned out to be a tape recorded. On January 13, 1993, she was found alive in Esposito's bunker. Number 3. Michael Anthony Hughes. On September 12, 1994, 6-year-old Michael Anthony Hughes was kidnapped by his stepfather, Franklin Delano Floyd. Floyd, a convicted felon, had recently been released from prison, and Michael had been in foster care. On the day of the kidnapping, the first grader was at school. Floyd walked into a school and forced the principal at gunpoint to take him to Michael's classroom. He then forced the child and the principal into his pickup truck. After driving for a while, he forced the principal out of the truck in a wooded area and handcuffed him to a tree. After that, he sped off in his truck with Michael. Though the principal survived the kidnapping and was eventually rescued, Michael was never found. 2 months after the incident, Floyd was arrested, but the boy was not with him. Authorities received several conflicting reports of what he had done with the boy. Some said that he drowned the boy in a motel bathtub, while others said that he was buried in a cemetery. Floyd himself stated that Michael was alive and well somewhere, even though he never gave his location. Finally, in 2015, during an interview with the FBI, he admitted to killing the boy the same day he had kidnapped him. He said that he had shot him twice in the head and then dumped his body on Interstate 35. The remains were never found, despite conducting a thorough search of the area. The authorities believe that Michael's body may have fallen prey to wild dogs. Number 4. Tanya Nicole Cash. Tanya Nicole Cash was reported missing on February 10, 1996. She was an 8th grader at Cornell Intermediate School at the time of her disappearance. A decade later, the truth of what happened to her finally came to light. As it turned out, she was kidnapped and then held captive by a man named Thomas Hughes, who worked as a security guard at her school. The man had befriended Cash before kidnapping her. He would often take her out of classes just to talk to her. Once he got caught her skipping class and kissed her. Over time, he convinced the 14-year-old girl to run away with him. Cash did so without knowing what awaited her. For the first 4 years of living together, Cash was not allowed to leave the house. Hose lived with his son and parents and kept Cash hidden from them. She was entirely confined to a bedroom, and because she did not have access to a toilet, she would have to use a bucket. In 2000, Hose created a new identity for Cash and told his parents that she was his girlfriend, who would be living with them. After this, Cash was allowed to leave the house occasionally, but she had to abide by a strict curfew. 6 years later, she managed to escape with the help of a local grocery store owner. Number 5. James Smith. One of Australia's most publicized murder investigations began in 1935 when a tiger shark on display in an aquarium in Sydney vomited up a human arm. It was initially thought that the shark had bitten off the arm, but an autopsy revealed that it had been severed with a knife. Fingerprints taken from the hand helped to identify the victim. The arm also had a distinguishable tattoo, which was positively identified by the victim's wife. Turned out the arm belonged to a man named James Jim Smith, who was born in England in 1890. Smith was a boxer and a small-time criminal who had been missing since April 7, 1935. He was also a police informer and led a high-risk lifestyle. Early inquiries led the police to a Sydney-based business owner named Reginald William Lloyd Holmes. Holmes was a smuggler and a fraudster who had a successful boat-building business on the side. He had employed Smith several times to run insurance scams. The pair also ran a racket with a convicted forger and ex-serviceman named Patrick Francis Brady. The three carried out various illegal operations together. The police found out that Smith had been blackmailing his partner Holmes. Smith was last seen at a hotel playing cards and drinking with Brady. On April 7th, the day he disappeared, Brady had rented a small cottage at the time of Smith's disappearance. The police suspected that Smith was murdered at the cottage. Gunnamatta Bay and Port Hacking were searched, but the rest of his body was never found. Brady was charged with the murder of Smith, and Holmes gave detailed description of how Brady had murdered and disposed of Smith's body. However, due to a lack of body and other necessary evidence, the case against Brady fell apart and he was found not guilty. So that was another 5 most mind-boggling missing persons cases that were later solved. I'd like to thank you again for listening to the video. I do apologize once again for any names or places that I butchered. I do apologize. But thank you very much, and I will catch you in the next video.